I'm going to start recording right now.
Might as well get some good stuff in. It always happens in the beginning, the best stuff before the recording.
Absolutely. I once
Yes.
went to a conference and the venue had a mezzanine.
Hmm,
And when you're at the breakfast, coffee, Danish part, and there's this great buzz and everybody's talking, and then the call to go into the conference room and all that really good energy dissipates. Well,
totally.
these conference organizers, what they did is they used the mezzanine, and about halfway during the coffee session, they showed up on the mezzanine and convened the session right then and there. And the first talk was while we were there standing with our Danish and
That's
coffee. And I
busy.
thought that was brilliant. So I've
Yes.
stolen that idea.
It's like having the most important part of your party happen in the kitchen.
Oh,
Mhm.
every time, it never fails.
So I have my coffee. We can just have coffee chat. Nothing.
So are
Simple.
you in California? You go by Michael?
I'm in Boise,
Oh, you're in
Idaho,
Idaho.
and
Are
Mike's
they
fine.
mountain or Pacific, Idaho?
We're in Mountain Time.
Okay,
I'll
very
have
good.
you have your coffee. I'll have my water that I took from home so I don't have to drink hospital water.
Okay.
Mm, you're with Brooks in the hospital.
Yeah, he's over there because the doctor might show up at any time. They might round soon. And so then I'll just like let you two chat amongst
Okay,
yourselves. I'll take myself off
fine.
video and then I'll come back when I can.
Okay, okay.
So I'm so glad, Carmen. I finally get to introduce you to Mike. Mike, I finally get to introduce you to Carmen. This is exciting. That's all I have to say.
Oh, look, I put a commercial product on screen, chapstick. They are not sponsoring us, however,
It should be.
because that's how much I use it.
Yes, you do use it a lot. Let's see. Pandas playing cello, brought to you by Chapstick. Not used by Pandas, but used by Carmen. So, Mike, how would you introduce yourself? We already talked about your book, Truth Medicine, very briefly in our little
Hmm,
book club that we did. Um,
Thank
and
you.
but that doesn't mean that we can't talk about it. But I just like, what's your
Oh,
broad
I
introduction?
wasn't there.
You were, it was the Couch Pandas. I brought we were, you said,
Oh,
what are these books on your
okay. I
table?
remember.
And we started
Yes.
talking
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
I feel like I'm with my family in New York and we're just hanging around.
That's
What
because
we
Carmen's
want.
an
That's what we
honorary
want.
Jew. I call honorary Jew.
That's funny. You want me to introduce myself?
Yeah.
Uh,
Because I've known you for multiple years now and worked with you on multiple projects, and I don't know how you introduce yourself now.
I'm just a dude with a dog. Um,
Um,
I'm, I would just say that, fairly reclusive monk type person, even though I present for thousands or more people. My energy is, I'm an outgoing introvert. Um, I'm a psychedelic psychotherapist. I'm an author, psychologist, ordained Zen monk and poet. And I work extensively with special operations, intelligence, and first responders. Although, of course, I work with, a whole variety of regular people and community. I would say my work is at the intersection of spiritual practices, namely Buddhism and non-duality, psychology and noetic sciences, the science of consciousness, of knowing, of extraordinary experiences. I think
So
that
what do you mean by non-duality? I can assume I know what that means, but I'm not sure I do.
I think it's a practice. Well, originally it's kind of from North India as a practice, as a spiritual practice, but the concept of non-duality, the way I know and understand it, is everything everywhere all at once. There's nothing that doesn't have this vital source in it, uh, pain included, suffering included. When we trace the thread from pain to life, we find there's life in pain and suffering. I would say non-dual literally means not two. So everyone goes, oh, oneness, but really we're pointing at there's not two of anything. It's all very indivisible and interdependent. I would,
Mm,
that's how I would frame it.
I really
thank you.
like how you did the sarcastic oneness because I come across that, oh, but everything's connected. And it feels like a throwaway phrase. It feels like it doesn't contain anything, but not to Advaita or non-duality is somehow feels more deep, even though it's sort of
Mhm.
equivalent logically.
I think oneness it's a bypass. It often is. We have a saying like a white, I hate to say this, but like, a really well-intentioned white woman yoga teacher teaching black prison, a prison with lots of black men. And they say, everything's all one. And then dudes are like, I don't think that's actually true in some way. We are very different. And I think there's a way that people in the spiritual community use oneness and really bypass the actual importance of difference, that there are differences and there are things that are relatively not the same. And still underneath that, there is an interdependence, and still underneath that, there is a merging or a sameness of all things in stardust, flowers, and soil, and myself. And so I
Right.
think it's holding both.
That
Mhm.
comment you made kind of stung a little bit. Not that I've ever done that, but I was visiting a friend in Walla Walla, and which houses a big Washington State prison, and she goes to the prison once a week to do laughter yoga.
Mm,
And so she's a tall, lean, gangly, European descent
mhm,
person, and the people in the prison are not that.
mhm. I taught a lot of yoga teacher trainings, and I've done social justice oriented or teacher trainings, and when people are coming back from their service, they're often actually quite humbled by the real world showing up to them while they're very good intentionally trying to bring something positive to people in marginalized, oppressed places, but they learn very quickly that specialized language doesn't work a lot. You have to be real, like real. When I'm working with cops and firefighters and special operations, there is a realness. I don't even mean woo woo. I mean, like the life and death that they're facing, the spirituality I teach has to meet that. And so if you're teaching in prison, you have to meet that.
Right, right. So what's an example, if I may? What's an example of how you've met that? How
I
your
think,
spirit,
yeah.
how you teach meets their real world needs.
I think one of the projects that Julie and I did, the time travel project, I don't know if you ever talked about in the show, where we
Yeah.
take people back to parts of their lives that need the most unconditional love. And we brought this into a jail, I think Cook County Jail in Chicago. And what would seem very frou-frou or woo-woo, we're bringing some people in their minds mentally back to their past. Um, Actually was very profound for the people in jail because they hadn't always judged and shamed themselves for the acts they did that caused them to end up being in jail. And they very, very infrequently brought themselves love for those same circumstances, that their own traumas, their own griefs. And so when we introduce them to our protocol, it's not to like it wasn't to save them and free them. It was to bring love to what was most wounded in them without judgment for what they've done that might have landed them in jail. And I think they ended up feeling a freedom that they hadn't felt before. I think they ended up feeling some kind of personal liberation, bringing love to themselves. And we weren't denying that they're in jail. We're not denying that it sucks to be where they're at. Like, oh, you can escape with this loving love. It's like your circumstances suck. And can we help you feel better about your life right now in this moment? I think that's one way I see us bringing real hardcore street spirituality to people who need it.
I like that street spirituality. What do you do, Mike, now with there's what I notice in the here come the doctors. I'm going to ask this question, then get off the video.
Hey,
Is
no, it'll be up to us, Mike.
You're
yeah,
gonna
you
do
just have
it.
to answer this. In the world now, there's special forces, et cetera, first responders. There's this macho-ness that kind of says, how do you get past that? That says, I don't get to have that love. Someone else can, but for my job, I can't have that because if I start
Right.
loving myself, I'm going to start loving the enemy and then I can't kill the enemy. You know what I mean? Like there's,
Yeah, it's beautiful. We work specifically with those I would say spiritual, psychological, or mental experiments. How can I do my job? How can I be a Buddhist, let's say, and not want to kill, but actually my job, I do have to use violence. And my favorite story I've ever worked with is a SWAT officer on the SWAT team who had a shift about 2 years into our work together where he was practicing compassion for himself throughout the few years, really feeling his sadness for his upcoming divorce, his separation from his son, from looking back to the way he was treated by his parents. And he was applying compassion to himself. And after about 2 years of doing this really dedicated, mindful practice of applying compassion, he ended up having a switch toward people who perpetrate violence. And he said, I no longer want to hurt them. I just want to stop them from doing violence. So we went from the shift of I fucking want to hurt people
Anger,
and I'm
yes,
angry and
right.
I'm going to, to I do want to stop people from hurting other people, but I actually I show up differently now. I don't want to hurt people out of anger. And he's sustained this now. He's an officer who's very dedicated to service and showing up and using violence if necessary, but without hatred and anger. And that's a huge difference.
Yeah. I can't help but bring up this example. You made me think of it, back when you're in high school and college and you're having these totally uninformed philosophical musings about life. I was talking to a friend of mine and who was, professed and I believe is in a certain way very nonviolent.
Mm,
And so I was already studying, international affairs, and I was confronted with the reality of life more than
mm,
she. And so I said, I was like testing her commitment to nonviolence. And I said, okay, let's imagine that you're in a room and the equivalent of Hitler walks into the room and you have precognition and you know everything that will happen. And you have the opportunity to stop him through an act of violence, I guess perhaps kill him.
mhm,
Would you do it? And she said, no.
mhm,
And I kept kind of enlarging the harm that this figure was going to do. And every time she said no.
mhm,
And I think I said something to the equivalent of, you're full of shit. This is
mhm.
ridiculous. So what do you think?
I've played this experiment out and it's changed as I've aged and it's
Okay.
changed. I used to be a no hardcore. I was a monk. I mean, I still am an ordained
Interesting.
monk,
Yeah.
but a very hardcore no. Um, and that shifted. My grandmother and my grandmother was taken out of her home, put on a train, cattle train in Hungary, and shipped to Auschwitz near the end of the war. So she didn't get the tattoo on her, and it was as most Hungarian Jews were going uh, straight to Birkenau, straight to the chambers. They didn't get a free ticket to go in the camp. And I'm thinking now, how would I show up for my grandmother? What would
Mm,
I do? Would I have done something violent to protect her, even if that meant my life? Would that going against the state? I work with the police department. I'm their psychologist, and I go out on calls with them. I go out with the SWAT team, and it's interesting to have to hold the nonviolent stance that I've had all my life with like we're doing violence sometimes. There is violence, and I'm seeing it. And for the most part, they're protecting our community from people who are harming others very badly. But what happens when the state turns against its citizens? Am I going to stand up for my neighbors the
right.
way I wish someone would have stood up for my grandma? My answer might be changing now. I might be
Uh,
more willing to say, no, I'm going to stop a person. I might put myself in harm's way. I might commit violence.
yeah. Well, I just finished reading the book called The Director, and it's the life of the German director, the fictionalized account of the German director G.W. Pabst, who
Mm,
was one of Germany's great directors in the interwar period between World War I and World War II. And the moral of the author, the lesson he said, is that you can't just wait to be brave when the big moment comes.
mm,
You have to be brave about the small things. Like in
mm,
a conflicted society, and the bravery involves doing what you morally believe is right.
mhm,
Because if you aren't brave about the small things, if you just let it go, this
mhm.
isn't important enough for me to take a stand. When it does become important enough for you to take a stand, your muscles have atrophied.
That's right.
You do
That's
not have the bravery muscles to use in that moment. And I thought that was very powerful. And
mhm.
that,
For me, hearing that, that's not just like a social engagement. That is, do you show up to your spouse and speak honestly to them?
yes,
Do you actually, when you're scared to be honest, do you find the courage to go, I have to tell you something that's true for me. I'm scared to tell you because I it might hurt you, or maybe you'll walk away from me, but I have to tell you this because it's true for
right,
how many of us are practicing that kind of authenticity and bravery in our daily lives? It's very difficult because we're scared to do it. We're scared of rejection, abandonment, being pushed away, losing things we love. But I advocate for actually being courageous and saying what needs to be said.
I don't think there's a case. Hey, you two know more about this than I do, but is there a case of a person who has no bravery and no authentic integrity with their family and loved ones, but does have that with sort of the broader circle, like at work or something? I can't. I think there's that doesn't happen.
I mean, Martin Luther King had a lot of affairs,
yes,
so
he
he was
did.
some
Right, but I
Yes.
things at
thought he
home.
told his wife about them, no?
Maybe after it came out on his Twitter or Instagram or something. I'm kidding.
I think maybe that's
Oh no, Abraham
retrocausal
Lincoln.
history.
He used Twitter. Yes.
Yes. I don't know, but right, right. Yeah,
That's not
maybe, but
integrity. I mean, that's I'm not saying I'm not judging. We all have our things, but is that an honesty, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know
well,
how to
so
answer.
so then was he brave? I think I would count him as being brave and
Yeah.
standing up in the outside world. Yeah, so thank you. You've cured me of that delusion.
No, I think that you can uh, behave one way privately and then behave another way in terms when you're in the context of whatever you believe your mission is.
Well, so
You know,
maybe you can have more bravery in one place or the other if that's your orientation. Like some people are really oriented towards the external, right? Like that's their mission, Carmen. Like if their mission is like political or external or really big, they could see their personal life as something completely different. And they
right.
play a completely different role. It's almost like they're a different person. So I could see that.
For some people, they're annoyed by their personal life. I mean,
Yeah.
people that have big personalities and have a lot of self-importance.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is true of all of them, but some people like that. Uh, and I should edit the self-importance because I don't want that to sound critical. But people that really are committed to making a difference in a significant way uh, don't want to be distracted by their personal life. And you've read biographies of people where you, in fact, hear that they were noble and incredibly effective in their professional setting and, complete shits at home.
Yeah. I'm not calling any of my first responder shits by any means. And they're extraordinarily brave and courageous in the field,
Right,
literally willing to go take bullets, go through doors of fire to save people, face trauma every day on the behalf of their community
right,
because we
right,
we don't want to show up to a car accident and extract someone who's dead,
right,
but a
right,
firefighter will do that for us. And they don't often tend to have the same kind of bravery in interpersonal
right,
relationships that they do. So I have to help them go, hey, look, you face the worst things. What's keeping you from telling your spouse this thing that's really
right.
important to you?
Well,
Why are you
But
holding that
it's more
back? You know?
personal with the spouse. Like I had that experience just last week when I was in a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and I asked him a question about whether or not he had done this particular thing that he really ought to do, not just for himself,
Mm,
but for his family. And he said, "No, I haven't done it." And before I could stop myself, I said, "That's irresponsible." And as soon as
mm.
I said it, I went, "Ugh." I mean, internally, I went, "Oh my God,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that maybe was a step too far."
Yeah, that's your stuff judging
It,
that
what do you
coming
mean?
out for
That's my
sure.
stuff judging.
If you're calling
Yes, I
someone
said, well, I
irresponsible.
said that what he had not, that the fact that he had not done something was irresponsible.
What did you step back inside? You said, "Oh God, I
Yes,
went too
I may
far."
have hurt his feelings. I may have uh,
Yeah,
said something he didn't want to hear, that he has trouble saying to himself.
right. And is that okay though?
Well, I
That
don't
you
know. I'm
hurt
asking you,
somebody's
is it
feelings?
okay?
Well, I would have asked him, "Do you think it's
No,
irresponsible?"
that's probably, yeah, don't you? Well, I don't know. But see, that makes it more here. So free psychology session. That makes it more personal. When I say that's irresponsible, it's the action that's responsible or not responsible. I'm not profiling him. But if I ask him the question, do you think it's irresponsible? That's actually more directed toward him.
Yeah, but that's where we learn.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, calling something irresponsible is your judgment of the situation.
Yes, it was my judgment of the situation,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was saying. That's your stuff coming out, projected
Yeah.
onto that. And I use that. We don't not get to use our internal compass and our internal judgments. We just want to make sure we're asking somebody to reflect. Do you think I think that's irresponsible. It sounds irresponsible. It sounds
Right.
immature to me.
Right.
What do you think about that? And most of the time, people are going to be like, honestly, yeah, yeah, I wish I did it differently. I was this, and this, and I wasn't able to step up to my mature self, and now I'm paying for it.
Yeah. You've made me think back on another moment in my career where I had to make well, for me, the decision wasn't that difficult, but it was definitely unpopular with the people who work for me. And this one analyst who I had a lot of respect for was an excellent analyst. After doing what he did not believe was the right thing to do, but I had told him that he had to do this,
Mm.
he stands in my doorway and he says, "Carmen, I never thought I would have to say this to you, but I am disappointed in you." And
Ah,
oh my God, that was just ugh. I to this day I believe it was the right thing to do. It had to be done. But that was a high price to pay
mm.
to have him say that.
I,
But
I, I don't,
we remained on good speaking terms, kind of curious what you think about this. My reaction to a lot of moments like that is not bringing up that subject again.
avoid it.
I'm not circling back. I'm not about that me pointing you. I'm just gonna move on. We both know the conversation occurred, and I don't need to bring any more attention to it. What do you think about that?
Well, it's just avoidance.
Is it really avoidance
You're
or,
literally saying I'm avoiding it. Yes, you're
well,
saying
yes, but okay, all right. Is avoidance bad?
I'm not calling bad or good. I'm saying you're
Okay, it's
avoiding it.
avoidance. Oh, you're right. You're right. That's actually very helpful. It is avoidance.
Yeah.
In my view, there's a phrase, I understand it's a very popular phrase in the among Buddhists that you swim in your suffering, that
Mm,
some people swim in their suffering. So, and I know people who do that, who just can't, as we would say in a popular parlance, can't move on,
hmm
as if moving on was easy, or as if moving on was the best thing. But they pay a personal and physical cost for swimming in their suffering. And so in that case, I think the inference there is that avoidance is good.
Avoidance is avoidance and it has costs and benefits.
Right, right, yeah.
And if you find you're not growing through what could be a hardship toward maturity, then you're losing out. If you find that avoiding the thing keeps you safe and you don't feel, you don't feel conflicted and you can move on, then you're benefiting. But what's the cost of avoiding? And for me, working with people who chronically avoid, the cost is you're not growing.
Mm.
You're not, first of all, you're not facing what the original core wounds that create your aversion to disappointing people. That's something, that's a treasure. You're missing a treasure because you're avoiding the pain of disappointing someone. But in looking at why do I hurt so bad when I disappoint someone, there's so many deep treasures of how you were treated growing up that are untended and unhealed that you could use that very thing to help heal yourself. One, and then on the growth side, you could actually grow in using the people's disappointment and go, God, that really hurts. That stings. Can you tell me more? I want to learn more. I want to know what's
Okay.
yours and what's mine.
Okay, so that is a question that would have deepened the learning.
Yes.
Now, I'm not in this story that I told you, but there's another episode that I'm not going to bore you with the details, but where I have my side of the story. And I would, after I retired from CIA, I would come back to CIA and I would, for a while, teach a leadership class. And I would tell my side of this particular story that involved another person.
Mhm.
One day, I told that story, and during the break, the people in the class came up to me and said, the guy that you're telling the story about, he tells the same story from his point of view.
Yeah.
And he drew this lesson, and you drew that lesson, and they're very compatible,
Ah,
but we avoided it. I mean, we never personally have had the conversation of, well, this is what I learned, and this is what you
right.
learned. So sometimes maybe just because you have a hammer
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you have to hit the nail on the head,
Yeah, there's times when the
right?
discernment will be, let's not engage together. I'm going to do
Yes,
this work
right,
separately.
right, okay.
So if you're if you're in a relationship with someone who's very abusive and they're actively abusing, that's not, you might not be doing your inner work with them. They might not be in a space to
Right.
hold your truth. And in fact, it could be dangerous for you to
Hmm.
go and speak your truth to somebody and do your inner personal work. So you discern, I'm going to step back and work inside and I'm going to apply those lessons to my life, but I'm not going to engage with that particular person. Like in your case, you both did your own work, you both came to your own lessons, and you didn't
Hmm.
have to engage for that. So that's okay. But if you're chronically avoiding, then you're
Hmm.
chronically missing opportunities to face the
Yeah,
dragon your healing to find
yeah,
your.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good, very good. You
Mm.
get an A.
Thank you.
I'm teasing you.
That's why I'm on the show. I
Well,
want to.
actually, I'm not teasing you. You've actually been very. I've learned a lot from those
Oh,
5 minutes.
thank you. That's special. Thank you.
Julia, you're back, but you're muted. You're back and muted.
I didn't get to hear because I was talking with the doctors. Everything's good. It's just they said the problem is he's undergoing chemo.
Yes.
I was like, yes, that is a problem.
Mhm.
Um, but that's a good thing to hear that there's no other problem. But no, I feel like I came back into it. I'm like, I know exactly what Mike is talking about. You're talking about what the gift of unconditional love gives you is the capacity to have boundaries
Mhm.
where you can say, I unconditionally love myself. I unconditionally love my partner. That does not mean that I have to even be in the same house or the same state as them. So the
Mhm.
implication we often have with unconditional love is it means you get to accept all behavior and you say yes to all behavior as if it's all acceptable. And so that doesn't work, right? That doesn't work as a way to love yourself and protect yourself. It doesn't work as a way to grow. It doesn't work as a way to be in a relationship where someone else might grow. And so it sounded to me like that's what you were talking about. Because if you imagine that there's this golden thread or this golden light that surrounds us all or connects us all, and that you can't violate that light. And part of not violating that light is taking care of what you need to do to absorb that light and allow that love to come to you. And doing it in a way that doesn't take that light away from someone else. You don't have to say, like, you're evil and the light cannot touch you, which is like coming from an anger and resentful and broken place. But you can say, here we are in this unconditional love. Let's stand here together. I'll be over here. You can be over there. Because I get from your past behavior that you might be abusive or that you might kill me or whatever it is. Right. And so it feels to me like it moves everything up a level to acknowledge the power, the real power that connects us all and surrounds us all without saying and therefore it means we are paralyzed to do anything to protect ourselves.
Not exactly the conversation, but that was deep on its own.
That was my association to what I heard when I came back.
Yes, well, that's beautiful. We were talking about how do you know when avoidance and not going, not confronting what's in front of you, but rather pulling back and not wanting to deal with it. When is that healthy and when is it unhealthy? When does,
When is it protective
yes,
of
when is it,
something healthy and when is it trying to protect you against growth?
yes, correct, that. Mhm.
Yeah.
And how can the growth best occur?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes when you rub someone's face into it, it's not a growth experience for them.
Mhm.
Well, I also think it's not your job to create their growth.
It's mine. I mean,
That's true.
So that may be the difference sometimes when Carmen and
Yeah.
I are talking, Carmen, people come to me for me to say, it sounds like
Yeah.
you need to grow up a little bit,
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
and I will actually say something like that, which they're like, you're my therapist. I'm like, yes, and I'm telling you, you need to
Yes.
mature.
Yes. Right. Right. Right.
Got
That's
it. Got
yeah.
it. For most people who aren't therapists and people aren't coming to them for that, if you rub someone's face in it, I think that's not your job.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. But the way you do your job is not rubbing people's face in it. You're just saying what you see.
Yeah.
You do it
Yeah.
from this unconditionally loving stance. You are, in fact, acknowledging that the love is there. And within that love, and by the way, if I don't say so myself, I think this is a very Jewish approach to be like, hey, cut it out. Like let's all acknowledge that we're flawed and cut
Mhm.
it out. Like
Mhm.
stop doing this. Like that would be helpful.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. I am wondering, was there a target topic of the show?
Of course not. Of course not. This is it. This is how it works.
I
Right.
had a feeling.
But in my mind, I was thinking, well, perhaps we should ask you about your book,
Oh,
number
sure.
one. And then the second thing, uh, since The Secret of Secrets is out, I haven't read it yet, but the new Dan Brown book,
Mhm.
and everyone's talking about it. I'm just curious whether or not either one of you have read it and have any thoughts about it. Because it is certainly popularizing something which uh, has often been avoided.
Hmm.
Yeah, noetic consciousness. So of course I read it immediately because I found out almost immediately that my name was in it. So being a
Oh,
good being a good academic, I read the thing that had my name in it.
was
It's so
that?
it's so embarrassing.
Well, you're honest with yourself.
So I read it. I read the very first one, Da Vinci Code, which I really was like,
Actually, that was not his first.
oh,
His
was
first
it?
book was, I think it's Angels and Demons.
Oh, that's
Ah,
right. So I read Da Vinci Code, and because it was really popular, and I'm like, I gotta read this, and I was like, ooh, cool, like secret conspiracy stuff. You know that I would like that. And it's a great story. And it's about like trying to find the secret of the sacred feminine. So I was all in. And then I didn't read any of his intervening books. And then I read that one, Secret of Secrets. And I think it's amazing that he's bringing out the noetic ideas and the non-local consciousness ideas and weaving it into a story that's compelling. And my only complaint about it was, of course, it's formulaic. You can tell like it's immediately going to. He already, of course, has a movie option. It's immediately
Yes.
going to be, a movie, and you can sort of see the things coming and
Right. Yeah.
etc. But I like that they brought up In-Q-Tel and CIA and all this because then people learn about. I know this is the part that you hate, Carmen, but then people learn about these things. Now they're going to learn about it in this like sort of paranoid, horribly negative way. Like CIA is building tunnels underground. I won't do any spoilers. Um, but they, I think most people are smart enough to be entertained by that and then to actually say, now, what is the relationship between the intelligence community and the noetic consciousness stuff? Now, that's an interesting question to ask. And I think that question can lead to some really fun and interesting work if it's done with integrity. So that's my review.
How about you?
I haven't read it yet. I didn't um, particularly like his other books, and I don't like when things are laid out when I know how things are going to happen. I can't do that in movies either. If I can predict a movie as it's happening, I just lose interest in it. So a
Yeah.
movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once is so unique. You're like, I have no idea what's coming.
Exactly. I felt that way about that. Yes.
And I am so deeply appreciative of film and literature that is unpredictable and you can't really tell where it's going because then my mind can just shut off and I'm just going but
Yes.
if I can
Right.
sense, if I'm intuiting, if I know what writers are doing, I,
Yeah.
I become disinterested
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like also when I listen to music, and if I can predict the chord progressions and the harmonics, it's not interesting to me. But when people surprise me with what they introduce in the music, I'm very excited. And yet,
Same.
so many people are exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
Like I remember playing for a friend, not the same friend who would not kill Hitler, another friend. I remember playing for a friend a piece of music that I really liked, and she goes, "Oh no, that's too
Like avant-garde or something.
well, no, she used a different word like unpredictable or
Uh,
weird for me, kind of."
hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I get
I think
that.
it was Bella Fleck and
I was gonna say
I
that's who
love
I
Bella Fleck.
yeah, there you go. I love Bella Fleck, but no Bella Fleck, you know.
That's so funny. That was my example of what I listened to.
Yes.
And then it's so unique what he's creating. You can't predict it. I mean, you can know the song and now I can sing or play the
Yeah, yeah.
songs along
Right,
with
right.
Oh, that makes me think, Mike, you have a band. So I want to put Bella
it.
Fleck. We have a playlist for Pandas. I don't know if anyone listens to it but me. But anyway, you have a band. I'm going to put Bella Fleck on our playlist. I'm going to ask you what your favorite Bella Fleck song is. And then what is your favorite song from your band that I can put on our playlist?
Oh, I'm no longer in that band. I don't I stopped playing music while I was writing my book. I
Uh,
do
Oh,
kind of do one thing at a time
I
in
get
some
you.
sense.
I get you. So do you not want to include that band?
No, I probably won't include that band. That is in the history books.
Oh, yeah, you are like that. That's right. Are you also
I feel like somehow
stopping?
non-duality applies in here, but then of course I don't really completely understand the term.
Mike,
Oh,
Mike is sort of the opposite of non-dual he's serial when it comes to his life.
Serial.
this is
Okay.
just temperament and
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah,
personality.
yeah.
And
Yes.
that's a part of the non-dual is that my personality does get space to exist and it's infused with all the beautiful
Right.
love and
It's
grace
the
of
way the good God of the universe created him.
and it's totally unique, just like each one
Right.
of us listening
Right.
and all of
Exactly.
us. It's super
Yeah.
unique.
So what tell us about your book then.
Yeah, and also tell us, are you no longer going to do psychedelic therapy now?
No, I still do that.
I
Why?
didn't know because eventually you will no longer do that.
That's correct.
And so why do you still do it?
I
Yeah, can
like
you tell us
I
about your book and why you do it?
Okay, well, I was gonna say, I first of all, I like mastering things and then moving on to something else. Like
Yes. I'm with you there.
I really like choosing to do something with all my mind and all my heart and learning it from the inside out. If it's athletics, it's long distance swimming and learning how the body moves just subtly to create flow or friction to propel me or to slow me down. And then when I really get the full sense of the thing, whether it's a music or my body in motion, I want to move on to the next thing. I want to really learn something new because we have so many things. Please apply your chapstick. I can sense how dry your lips are. Um, I love learn I love learning because the universe is infinite and we have the ability to learn and grow. And so I like to master and then move on to the next thing. But what I've done is this book called Truth Medicine. Healing and living authentically through psychedelic psychotherapy. And Rick Doblin, the founder of MAPS, who studies MDMA for trauma, he did the forward. This book is about what I discovered doing psychedelic psychotherapy over many years with people doing ketamine in ketamine clinics or on retreats with different medicines outside the country where it's legal. And I am doing in-depth psychotherapy while people are on psychedelic medicine. And so what tends to happen is the psyche is revealed. Things within our subconscious, unconscious come out because they're not blocked. The ego's not keeping it pressed. So the material of the psyche emerges, which could be in memories and in ideas or beliefs, images, symbols, and signs from within us. And also the cosmos emerges. The cosmos is the universe, stars, galaxies, spirits, ancestors, anything that's in some sense outside of ourself, which nothing really is outside of ourself. It all happens on the inside, but the cosmos appears also. And so I'm using the material of the psyche and the cosmos for their healing and growth. They have healing goals, and we're using whatever arises in session to go toward those healing goals.
Right.
And yeah, so I'll stop there.
No, I was just going to say, presumably you've had these experiences yourself,
Oh, of
or
course.
you would not be able to
That's right.
kind of know what to be looking for in their experience.
Yes, that's correct. This comes from many decades of experience, of teaching, of guiding, of myself going into those states. I started psychedelic. I'm sober now. I don't use any medicines, but I started when I was 15 using psychedelics. And
On purpose, like for
you
fun,
mean someone? Yeah,
or for
yeah.
escape, or
No, I
for
use
research.
Well, I would say at 15, I was experimenting because older students were inviting me to hang out with them and try this. And then I started understanding there's a veil between our reality and this greater spacious reality of the world or cosmos. And even at 15, I'd have pretty significant mystical experiences. I was also having fun. I was also recreationally using, but I would also then take mushrooms and go into the forest and really have deep connective experiences with the forest. And then by 18, I was leading experiences with my friends. I would take them to the forest and we would purposefully kind of have this interconnected experience with trees and the rocks and the rivers. And I would also be protecting them, watching that they're not freaking out, or if they did, I would help them, which
Mhm.
is crazy because I do that for a career now. And I just did that because that was what I fell into back then. So now I know how to help people navigate altered states of consciousness.
So, as someone who has never really other than, occasionally drinking to that point, but almost never now. I mean, I can't even think of the last time I got anywhere close to being drunk, whatever that means. And some very young adulthood use of marijuana, very young, like maybe 3 times, because then I worked for CIA, so I couldn't do that. I've never had those experiences. And so I can't relate to them
Yeah.
in any way. I don't think.
Probably in some way not. Julie were talking about psychedelic experiences. She said she has not had anything anywhere near that, so it's hard to relate. I think yes and no. I think you've had experiences of the universe of yourself that are show you patterns and pictures of how things work.
Yes, absolutely. That I have had.
So
Yes.
there is some of like the lessons you've probably had in different ways, but in terms of having altered states of consciousness happen, you probably haven't, like if I were to give you DMT or you were to be on ketamine, you'd be like, I have never seen anything like this in my life. And that would probably be true. You probably hadn't seen any of the visual imagery or the feelings of dissolving into great, the great picture. But I can guarantee you've had the lessons that a lot of people on psychedelics have had, and we don't have to use psychedelics to have the lessons.
There's no question, Carmen. I mean, because of your intuition and your dreams and things like that, you get that information directly from the universe without the visuals.
Mhm.
I have no idea what that means,
Well,
but
I know, but Mike, can you explain that to her in a way that she can hear? Because I think it's really true.
Yeah. So assuming you're working with Julia for a reason, you guys bonded and you're coming because you have some kind of intuitive gifts or you have dreams or you're right. I mean, you wouldn't be bonded with Julia if you didn't have some kind of noetic experience or precognition or you guys wouldn't be bonded or paired. So those things are accessible much more easily on medicine because your default mode network is turned off. Your regular way of thinking and the regular way of narrating life is turned off. The regular way of perceiving is turned off. So you're able to access information around you without the barriers of that default mode network or the ego completely on. And if you're already open to that, if you're already intuitive and you have gifts of seeing the future or of connecting with spirits or in precognition, you have a thought of what's going to happen or a presentiment, you feel something's going to happen, it does. You already have those gifts and you're just getting them without maybe the strong visuals that you get while you're on
I will
psychedelics.
actually share with you because it just popped into my mind. And one of my rules I live by was when a thought enters your mind, pay attention to it. Don't ignore it.
Mm,
And so I don't think I've ever told you this, Julia, but I was in Puerto Rico 1 year after my father and my grandmother, beloved grandmother, died. So they both died within 2 weeks of each other in 2003. And so a year later, my mother wanted to go to Puerto Rico and do novenas, have like the rosary told. My grandmother was Catholic, my father was whatever. But so we went to Puerto Rico and we invited a lot of my best friends uh, to come. And so there was about eight, in other words, 10 of us. And we rented a big old townhouse on the ocean in Puerto Rico, Palmas del Mar. The townhouse had a terrace. So we made food and we ate on top of that terrace.
mm,
And so the way you make white rice in Puerto Rican cooking is you want to make it so that a crust forms. So
mm,
unlike Anglo white rice making, which is just ridiculous, the Latinos want that, we call it pegado, the sticky part, pegado. And so I find myself sticking my hand in the pot that the rice is in. And there's like 9 other people there, sticking my hand in the rice and turning it into a rice bowl with my hand, manipulating it. So I have a little rice bowl. And I went, oh my God, that's what my dad used to do. And I had
mm,
never done that in my life.
mm.
Stuck my hand in the pot of rice and made the ball. And then, like 5 minutes later, this white owl flies over the terrace. And I immediately go, oh, that's abuela, that's my grandmother. And you could never
Mm,
convince me that that isn't what was really happening. I mean,
mm,
particularly my making the pegao. I mean, that was like blew my mind that I did something that I
mm.
had never done before.
In my book, it's detailed stories like that, but they're on medicine. But things come to them while they're on medicine that are and represent
Mm,
their ancestry, that represent their family, or that are their family coming and talking to them and giving information that
right.
may be new or may be really deep in the recesses. And so you're already having these experiences, and not everyone gets to touch that kind of the spirit world, the ancestral world behind the veil, which I might always exist and it might not. I'm an open skeptic. I don't know, but I do know that these things are real for us when we're experiencing them.
Yeah,
And
right.
so for you to have your dad reaching in and doing the rice ball through you, have
Yeah.
abuela,
Yeah.
your abuela
It gives
coming,
me chills. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's healing though. That could be very potent for you. Are
Right.
you
Right.
feeling it right? You're feeling it right now.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's great. So I know we have about 10 minutes left, and Gloria comes and goes. And you've mentioned the veil. I'm not
Yeah.
changing subjects. I'm not avoiding. I know it sounds like I'm avoiding, but I'm not. Uh, but you've mentioned the veil a couple of times, and that's an expression that people use a lot who are talking about their near-death experiences that they saw beyond the veil. And one of the topics that always interests me is religion, and I I'm pretty conflicted right now about near-death experiences because people recounting their near-death experiences are causing a lot of harm in society right now,
Hmm.
where they're saying, God spoke to me, God told me to do this. My ancestors came to me and they told me the rapture is going to occur on September 23rd. Oh no, now it's yesterday. And so uh, I could even make the case in a kind of an exaggerated way that it should be illegal for anyone to say that they spoke to God. Because talk about confirmation
I,
bias. I mean,
I think it's
it's,
about changing the culture so that I think people understand better.
yeah, but so anyway, I'm just curious since you've used that term so often, if you have any thoughts about near-death experiences and is there a way to think about them responsibly?
well, I'm just hearing that someone's inflated sense of importance is pairing with something sacred. When you're telling me
But
they come back and they're using what they've experienced to promote some kind of personal agenda in the world,
right,
then
right.
that to me suggests some kind of inflated sense of importance and that they're using something sacred to move that forward. And
Mm,
those two things are different for me. I'm just looking at a big personality who's marred with its own importance or illusions or delusions about itself versus the actual phenomenon. They may have had touched God or they may have had ancestors come, but the way they're using it's unskillful and maybe harmful. So I would
mm.
separate those two.
Well, isn't that, I
Very
mean,
helpful.
I feel like that's the case for every human experience, regardless of whether it's near death experience. Like people can
Yeah.
say, well, my mother used to beat me, so I beat my child. And it's like, that's like, it should be illegal for people to
Beat
say
their
that their
child.
mother beat them and it's just like, we just need more awareness that we are in these bodies and we have these personalities. And yet that's very different from this sacred thing. And at the same time, it's part of this sacred thing. So I get that it's confusing.
That's the non-dual stance.
Yeah.
Actually, it is sacred and there's the human messiness. And the sacred is always in the human messiness. And human messiness is actually sacred even when it causes harm. Um, it's all happening at the same time. I just want us to be aware and clear of what's happening so we can call it out very, I mean, it's what is going on in the awful rupture of our system in America right now.
Right,
It's
right.
very hard to witness for me. But I can see it all. I can see it all
Mhm.
happening, and I can see conditions and influences of people's personalities shaping things. And we just that's what we want to be aware of in my perspective, but still what you're saying is like, let's also not take out let's not diminish the sacred either.
Yeah. Yes. Well,
Well,
we only have like another minute, and
Yeah, I got to.
I feel like Michael has a lot of wisdom to share, and we've just like scratched the surface of it.
I know. So this is why I was so excited for you two to meet. I knew that it would be a perfect time for me to like go off screen and do things while you figured out the universe. But let's come back and do this again. Also, the the video, the audio's been fine. The video's been a little wonky because of bandwidth.
Yeah.
And so we'll do this again and get better bandwidth. But this is
But this, no, this one's a keeper though.
this.
We'll just go
Oh,
to
it's a wonderful keeper.
chapter two,
We'll just do
basically.
chapter two. Yeah, if you're interested, Mike. This kind of
Yeah,
conversation is what we love.
Yeah,
good.
so here's the secret.
Yeah.
So we tape like an hour and then it's like totally incoherent, which is probably why nobody ever watches the full length. And then Julia or I go into the cutting room and we make little snippets that make
Uh,
it sound like the conversation was coherent. And we put
Good.
those on LinkedIn, and then people think, wow, that's fantastic.
And we actually post the whole conversation on
But
YouTube,
we
and
do, but no
very few
problem.
people watch that. More people
Yeah,
watch.
they do. They do. Yeah.
I'm just going to let you all do what you do and take it, and hopefully it's useful to anybody watching. Maybe it's just useful to us three today, but that's cool.
Well, and that's good enough.
I think we count.
We do count. This was a great conversation to have.
Mike, I'm going to challenge you on just one little before you go thing. If you had to put in a sentence or two, if you had to diagnose what is the breakdown of our society and our government right now, what would you say?
Oh gosh, I mean, I go back to the Buddhist teachings on really the causes of our suffering, our greed, hatred, and ignorance. I mean, for me, just watching, and I don't care what side. I'm not talking about sides. I'm talking about the human nature of being greedy and contentious and ignorant. I mean, that's all what I'm watching, and I'm watching people's big wounds coming forward in the way they're operating on TV with each other. And I don't know why we love divisiveness so much, because I think there's a dirty, druggy feeling to it. We get high off of like
It's addictive.
the hatred is addictive, and it's dirty, and I think people are drawn to that.
That's
Um,
why I refuse to monitor the news anymore.
I
I stay
wouldn't.
away from it. And now you've helped me think about what it is that makes me uncomfortable about people who first thing in the morning spend an hour uh, eating the news. It's because it's dirty.
It's dirty and toxic. So people, I don't watch news or anything for many years, many
Yeah.
years. And they're like, well, how do you know what's going on? There's human suffering in every quarter of life I've ever been. I'm addressing it when I'm with a person one-on-one. I'm addressing it when I'm working with groups. I address it when I work within organizations. I'm not ignorant of suffering and the causes of suffering. I'm just not paying attention to the current news that is like vomiting it.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to the person in front of me who I'm
Right.
helping heal, or
Right.
the group. So I have to go. Thank you both so much.
Oh my God. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Wonderful, wonderful,
All right.
wonderful.
Talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon.
Lots of love,
Bye.
Mike.
Bye.